Hi everyone, we're going to be covering the Redon mill portfolio today, but as always, before we deep dive into it, like, subscribe, do something about this video. Redon has one of the most robust portfolios out there, and they break it down into basically 4 mills, and some of them have different options. They first have, let's start with the 1 Plus, which is their 4-axis focused on the more chair side looking workflow. It's not dedicated only to chair side, but it's their option that would fit that. 4-axis, wet and dry. It could be used for glass ceramics, for zirconian blocks, whatever you need in blocks form. Then from there, they have the hybrid, which has 2 versions, the Echo and the Full, and we're going to talk about them in a little bit. Then they have the GTR, which is a way more heavy duty mill. And then they have, which is probably the coolest mill in the market right now, their best mill, which is a modular solution where you can have up to 2 spindles attached to 1 disc changer. So first we're going to start with the R1, which like I said is their 4-axis. As you can see here, it is a wet and dry option. It has a 0.75 kilowatts, 750 watts spindle power. It goes up to 100,000 RPM, which is really important when you're milling glass ceramics. And it has a micro step motor. So again, this is a mill focused on blocks milling. Who is this mill for? Either for someone that has a small lab that does a lot of aesthetic cases, or for a doctor that wants to have a more chair side looking workflow for them. Now let's compare the two Redon hybrid versions that they have. We have the Echo on the left here, and we have the Full on the right. What's going to change between those two? They are both absolute servo motors, as you can see here. The spindle is the thing that changes between them. The Echo version has a 100,000 RPM and it has a 0.5 kilowatts spindle power, while the Full has a 60,000 RPM with a 1.2 kilowatts spindle. So this is a more powerful spindle. So if you don't have a lot of volume of metal, but you still want to do something, the hybrid Full would be your option. They're both hybrid, meaning wet and dry. So let's break it down really simple. If you're looking only for zirconia, PMMA, wax, those types of materials, the Echo would be your option. If you want to do metal but not on a large scale, I think the hybrid Full would be your option. Now, if you look into the more heavy duty mills that Redon carries, and they're really known for these heavy duty mills, that's their focus. We have the Redon GTR and the Redon Best Mill. If we look at their technical specs, the major technical specs, we're going to see that they are pretty much the same mill. So the spindle has the same RPM, 60,000, and the same power, 3.7 kilowatts. And if you think about it, 3.7 kilowatts is probably the most powerful spindle dental related that we've seen so far. So this is a mill focused on metal. Of course, once it does metal, chrome, cobalt, titanium, whatever it is, it can handle any other material that you want. But coming here again, the GTR and the Best Mill, they have the same, let's say, structure in terms of power, in terms of capability. What is going to change here is the fact that the Best Mill, which is the one on the right here on our presentation, this one here is the Best Mill, it's going to have more capacity because, like I said in the beginning, you can have up to 2 spindles running with 1 disc changer. It is the only mill in the market that has that configuration, attaching 2 spindles into 1 disc changer. So you have tool change capacity here up to 24 on the Best Mill and up to 12 on the GTR. If we think about it, you have 24. Why? Because you have 12 in one side, 12 on the other side. And like I said, you have the disc changing capacity on the Best Mill, which you can put up to 15. So I think the best way to understand these 2 mills is that you have the GTR, and the Best Mill, you can place 2 GTRs connected with 1 disc changer. It's not exactly that, but that's the best way for you to understand this. If you still have any questions, access our website. You're going to have a comparison tool with all the information you need about any type of equipment.